Hello and welcome back to another video. So today I'm doing another tiny house and it actually ends up being in a contemporary style similar to my contemporary build that I published recently. Here I was thinking about doing like a Mediterranean style or like a style that is similar to the houses in the area, but I kind of gave up on that little like breezeway thing because I thought it would be a little too much for this size house, and I end up making it the max size for a tiny home tier. So that's the second tier of tiny living. I didn't want to do a micro home again because I wanted something to play around with, but I did want the benefits of a tiny house. So I went with the second tier, and I really like those windows. It's my first time using them. I usually go for the full pane glass windows, but I thought these were nice that they had the extra little window up top and some detailing. And you saw me drag that wall in to the fence. That's the way you can kind of cheat the tiling system for tiny houses. I like to do that because I don't like the game counts that little fenced off area in the back as part of the house. So it includes it in your tile count. So the way to get around that, and while you still can have a fenced-in backyard, is you draw three sides of the area you want fenced off, and you draw a wall that's the same length as you want, and then you just drag it in. So that overrides the game's system of counting tiles. And so I thought I wanted a kitchen that overlooked the backyard, but I kind of didn't like how the windows were, and I thought it wouldn't be the best use of space. So I ended up moving the kitchen right there, which ends up being its permanent home. And when I was first building this house, I wanted to make it a starter house. I was thinking about keeping it under 20,000 simoleons, but as I decorated, I just kept wanting to add more. So it ended up not being a starter house. But that's okay. It's really cute the way it ends up. And I also use paint that I recently got from the Sims resource. I'll put the link to this set in the description or in the comments. And this paint set is life-changing because it actually has colors that you would find in like Home Depot or like Sherwin-Williams and something like that. And so I think it's a lot easier to decorate if you have good swatches for paint. And because I didn't have a lot of good swatches before, I just ended up doing a lot of very basic, like whites and, what other colors did I use? Like blues. And so now that I have that beautiful basic paint color set, it's letting me play more with colors. And so you'll see that in the bathroom specifically, where I use a really nice shade of green. Here I leave the bedroom, actually like white. So I think there was a lot of like wood elements playing in. I used the color in the artwork. So I kind of wanted a little more simple, but then the bathroom, it kind of has more of an earthy tone to it. So I bring in little green and some black and white, and there's a rug. I actually choose that rug, and I think it's really nice to put rugs in rooms like that because it breaks up the floor and adds a little texture. And that, especially what you would do in real life, like you don't want something completely continuous all the time. Sometimes you want a little change of texture. It does a lot for a room. To me, sometimes a room looks bare without a rug. And here's the little dining area. I did test this. So all four chairs are completely accessible. And it's just a nice little closed off dining area. I kind of used those partitions. They're also custom content to kind of wall off the area and create a little intimate dining space. Because I've noticed in a lot of tiny homes, everything's like super open, but I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I kind of walled off that area while still keeping it in the same room. And then here I go to work on the bathroom. And here I was still thinking I was going to make it a starter home, so under like 20,000 simoleons. But the build got away from me, I'll be honest. And once I'm on it, like a track of, oh, I really like how this is coming out, I rather go for the design than the price, you know? Of course, toilet paper must have. And look at that shade on the wall. Isn't it such like a nice earthy tone? And I think the tiles really bring it out. And I like that rug, the circular one, but I thought it was just kind of odd because it was, I don't know, the placement. And because of the size of the bathroom, I just decided against it. And then I found this rug in this swatch. And I think it was nice because it brought back the elements of the black and white from the shower and the plants and the toilet. And I just think it kind of added a little pop while still, you know, being a cute rug to break up the space, like I said, in the bedroom. And think about it. Do you want to step out of the shower onto a cold stone floor? No, you want a cozy rug. So that's why I put it in there. Some nice neutral lighting. And I thought that would be cool to have like a spotlight on the kitchen. But then later on, it just doesn't work out for when I switch, because I always switch to night mode when I'm placing lighting, and I couldn't figure out how to do the like living room lighting, so I completely switched it out. And I've been working on my lighting skills because I've been kind of cheating and just putting can lights everywhere. But in this build, because it is a tiny build, I really tried to use lamps that blend in with the decor and just really add a nice touch. Because it is a tiny build, like you don't have that many lamps to place. And I like that couch, but I just didn't like that it was so tiny and I couldn't figure out how to put it in effectively, and I kind of wanted a poof, but I figured I'd rather do a nice longer couch in the color palette, so then this one ends up staying. And I keep playing with the kitchen appliances, but in the end, because I give up on it being a tiny starter home, the kitchen changes a bit. And so that the dresser is custom content, and that desk is from Parenthood. And the computer that I end up placing is custom content. This one. And it reminded me of a Mac. And so I really liked it for this room specifically because it was like very simplistic. And Apple and its design seemed to be very simplistic, very elevated, and that's why I used that computer over any other ones. Was because it just really went with the clean lines of the room. I thought the leaning mirror just it might have issues with the bed, so I just took it out and put a nice one on the wall. I'm trying to be more creative with my rug choices, so I tried to stay in the color palette but still add a little accent. And then here let's start on the landscaping. And then here I am trying to figure out what's in the area so I can kind of copy it. The bamboo is cute, but I thought there isn't any bamboo in the area, so I went with palm trees, and that nice, I think it's a hibiscus tree. And what I figured out for these palm trees is that they still look really nice if you size them down using the parentheses key. because it kind of looks like a baby palm tree. So you get different sizes with one item, which I think in landscaping is very important. And then I'm playing around with the fence because it felt weird it all being uniform, but I still wanted a sense of privacy in the backyard. So I play around with it and I end up doing a partial wood fence and shrubbery because it felt like too much of an area to put just one thing, just one style of fence, and I really wanted more greenery because I'm super excited for eco living. So this build is also kind of inspired by that because I wanted the modern lines and the emphasis on greenery. That's why I put a wash basin and a clothesline in the back instead of doing a washer dryer inside. Because it's the desert. They can wash their clothes outside and they'll dry. And furnishing the back patio. I ended up going with these and I only put two, I think, because I didn't want to make the backyard super cluttered, but I still wanted some nice seating area. I love this glass table. And the umbrella. So a good way to place this is using the Alt key. And I think this backyard is a backyard oasis with all that I put into it. I feel like I should have put that umbrella to be white, but I also like the pop of color in the back. When I downloaded that stone tile, I thought it was going to be little pebbles, but they're just so big. So I won't use it. And then some nice landscaping, some rocks. Because this area seems to have rocks when I was checking it out, so I added some rocks on the land. And here I'm doing some edging with the terrain paint tool. And I also decided to switch up the opacity of the brush and do a tiny, tiny, tiny little path to where the laundry station is. It isn't as obvious as in my other build, the log cabin build that I just uploaded, because this one, it's you don't do laundry as often, or I don't know. I just like how I did it here better because I think how I did it in my log cabin build, the trail was a little too obvious. But also you could justify that by saying, oh, it's a really old house, so that's why that path would be super worn down. And then here you could say, oh, it's a newer house, so that's why the path isn't as worn yet. And when I was going to do it as a starter home, I wasn't going to add upper cabinets, but as I was building, I changed my mind and say, okay, I'm just going to do this house as if I'm just going to do whatever I want in this house to make sure that I like it. And so I play around with the kitchen. I'm kind of sad I didn't have more room for counter space. Well, I do, but I wanted that window to the left of the kitchen. So, and I mean, the Sims don't really need that big of a kitchen because 90% of the time they use one cabinet, one counter tile, like every single time. So even if you make them a huge kitchen, only like two tiles will be used to actually prepare food. So I figured, I'll just make them a little smaller kitchen so they have more living space. I put a little napkin holder on the table. I didn't want the table to feel overly cluttered because it's such like a smaller area, so I just put napkins on there. I thought about putting a pillow, but I took it out because I had already some texture on the rug. So I just left the couch blank. And those jars up top, I think are custom content. Pretty sure. And then 99% of the time, any artwork that I put on the walls is going to be custom content. So I don't like the art that we're given in the game. And I like this painting, the one I just put in the dining room, because it kind of incorporates the wall color. But because I use a lot of black and white, I wanted to tie the kitchen into the dining room. So I actually switch it out for the one I'm about to place right now. And it is big for the space, but I think it's a nice focal point for that section of the house. And especially because I partition the dining room off, I just think that's a nice element. And lighting is very important. So I add some lighting on the outside. I use the grid to help me place the lighting so it's even. And I noticed at that point when I was going to do the roof that I put mirrors that were way too tall. But thankfully it comes in different sizes, small, medium, large. Tall, I think is the big one. And so here's me roofing, which I am slowly getting better at in my opinion. And some more landscaping. I like to keep landscaping symmetrical when it comes to the entryway specifically. So I think that's what they tend to do in real landscaping if it's like a straight shot like this. But if it's a slightly curvy or something, they don't completely follow symmetry. Oh, and here is me using the terrain paint to make it a little more realistic, where it's like, oh, here the soil was kind of tilled and landscaping was installed. Because you don't really see flower bushes in the middle of like grass with nothing around it. I mean, like you see dirt, you would see dirt around planted landscaping. So I was trying to say. And then here is a new nifty trick that I figured out is using the 9 key, move objects, and the size key, which is the left right parentheses on the top right of the keyboard. You can make your own like fence lights and have it match the fence to the lights that you have on the ground. So that was something nifty I figured out during this build. And then I changed the tiling, add some trim. I don't know why they gave us that really big trim. It just looks so weird, in my opinion. Or maybe it's just because this house is so small that it looks weird. I bet on a house with a larger roof line, it wouldn't look as weird. And here I realized I needed a hamper. And I didn't have really where to put it. So I put it in front of the dresser, which the dresser is functional, but somehow the hamper was not. So I have to figure that one out. And here's the house tour. The entryway, the main living space. I love how the dining room came out. Another angle. The kitchen. The master bedroom. I love that I put a little throw on the bottom of the bed. And here's the paint that I was talking about earlier. So I think this bathroom is like the biggest nod to the world around it because it's the most desert inspired part of the house. And a pool because Sims love pools. I think most of my Sims end up requesting a pool in their whims.